Unbelievable. Unbelievable. The Flyers lose to the Buffalo Sabres by a score of 6-1. Well, I guess we can say it was inevitable. I guess we can say this was most likely going to happen. The Buffalo Sabres were eventually going to end their historically bad losing streak of 18 games. And yeah, the Flyers March, the nightmare that has been the month of March, continues with this loss to the Buffalo Sabres. How? Just how do you lose to this team 6-1? I know you lost to them in the beginning of the season 6-1, but the way the team is now, the way Buffalo is now, how do you lose to them 6-1? It's funny too because the Flyers actually got a better start in this game. But you know, it doesn't matter. Does not matter whatsoever. Doesn't matter if you have a good start, bad start. You still lost the game. You still gave up the first couple of goals. You still had a bad game, regardless of your start. Because after the first two Buffalo goals, okay, you made it a 1-goal game in the second period, but then it just broke down from there. Became a 4-1 game. And then you allow the 2 late goals in the third period to make it a 6-1 game. Brian Elliott gets pulled. Alex Lyon comes in. Really not much they can do. The team in front of them just stunk. And it's been like that the entire season. And yet, this game right here. This game, even though my hopes for the Flyers making the playoffs were slim to none at this point, this team isn't making the playoffs. I think we all know this at this point. And they need to make major changes. Major. They're not going to do it all at once in the trade deadline. This is a situation where you need trade deadline and an offseason after the expansion draft to fix all the problems, because there are way too many problems occurring with this team. And like we've said on the podcast many times before, Chris has said this many times before as well, it's a broken record at this point. How many more times can you say it's the same things that are resulting in pucks going into your net? Because it is the same exact things. Defensive zone breakdowns, turnovers, can't get out of your own zone, and just sloppy team defense in general. And you're leaving your goaltenders out to dry. Yeah, Elliott didn't have the best of games. Lyon came in, really only allowed 1 questionable goal. But really, what else was he supposed to do? The defense just literally gave up, it felt like. That's what it feels like sometimes. It feels like this team does give up. Especially in this game, where, okay, they made it a 1-goal game, but then when Buffalo scored so many minutes after, kind of sunk the energy out of their tank. And that's what this game felt like. And for Buffalo, they finally end their streak. So for, I guess, game-wise, I really don't want to talk about the game that much because really I just had no investment in this game. Once Buffalo scored those 2 goals, I had no investment. No investment. This game was boring from head to toe. Insanely boring, insanely frustrating, so I wasn't going to work myself up getting mad over this game. Because at this point, what more do I expect from this team? Because this team is not good. This team has problems all around the lineup. And like I said, there's a lot of things that they need to fix. And who knows what happened, because there's a lot of things that I want to get into that are not part of this game. So I'll go over the game real quickly. The game sucked. It really sucked. We all know this. Like I said, the Flyers actually came out with a good start. They got their chances. They couldn't finish. Then Sam Reinhart scores. And you got Curtis Lazar scoring not so long after. 2 goals in the span of, I would say a little over 2 minutes of each other. And one of those goals, you saw Kevin Hayes just literally fall flat on his ass when the Sabres are going the other way. And it results into that goal. Yeah, basically summarizes the Flyers season. But early in the second period, Ivan Provorov gets on the board, makes it a 2-1 Buffalo lead. But then, not so long after, Justin Braun also had a terrible game. Terrible, especially in the first period. He was one of the results. The puck from Reinhart went off of his leg and into the net. And then the Lazar goal, just a turnover, turned into an odd man rush the other way. And then Lazar was the man coming coming behind the play and no one was covering him. So, yeah, not a really good period for Justin Braun. And then you got Vigardi getting his first career NHL goal. Literally, his stick gets knocked out of his hand, and then it feels like the defenders forget where he is, and he just allowed to get his own stick. He's allowed to stay in front of the net, and he redirects the puck Brian Elliott to make it a 3-1 Buffalo lead. And then not so long after, Casey Mittelstadt makes it a 4-1 Buffalo lead, and this is where Brian Elliott gets yanked, and in comes Alex Lyon. Go to the third period. Not really much going for both teams. Flyers get some chances in the offensive zone. They can't finish. Flyers got 3 power plays in this game. The power play stunk. Power play stunk. I don't care if they're getting all these chances. They're possessing the puck in the zone so much. If you're not scoring goals on your power play stinks. And something needs to be fixed. And your power play did not help you this game. It just hasn't. I don't care if it's been hot the past few games. Your power play has stunk the entire season. Your power play has stunk for a lot of seasons in a row. And it needs to be fixed. Really needs to be fixed. And nothing happens. You get Brandon Montour scoring into the empty net shorthanded. Make it a 5-1 Buffalo lead. Then Montour once again, so many seconds after, gets another shorty. Past Alex Lyon, have no idea how this puck went in. And it becomes a 6-1 Buffalo lead. Flyers outshoot Buffalo 32-27. Outdid them in the faceoffs. Flyers had the only power plays of this game. Went over 3. Flyers out-hit Buffalo. Buffalo blocked a lot of shots. Buffalo gave the puck away more. Just shit show. Just an absolute shit show by the Philadelphia Flyers. So, just a bad game. Bad game overall. And you want to, if we're looking at the Flyers schedule coming up and also get a look at the standings, I want to look at those first, actually. Because even though, I do think this team isn't going to make the playoffs, they're still in there. They're still in it for some reason. They are still in it. So Flyers, they currently sit in 5th place. 35 games played. They're 17-14-4 with 38 points. And they're a -22 on the season. And their goal differential, that's always amazing to see. And 3 points behind the Boston Bruins, who are in 4th place. They are 18-9-5. They have 41 points. Flyers are 10 points behind the Penguins, who are in 3rd place, 10 points behind the Islanders, who are in 2nd, and they are 12 points behind the Capitals, who are in 1st place. Rangers are 2 points behind the Flyers. Devils are somewhat creeping up there, 7 points behind the Flyers, and then you got lonely old Buffalo in last place, where it does feel like the Flyers should be the 7th place team in this division, because that's just how bad they played this month. It's been that bad. It's been that bad, and they're still in the thick of things somehow. Still in the thick of things. I just do not understand it. Don't understand it at all. This team has a lot of things they need to fix, and if we look at their schedule coming up, so after this game played against the Buffalo Sabres, that is their last game played for the month of March. In comes April. Saturday, they play the New York Islanders in Long Island. Then Monday, they go to Boston to play the Bruins, and then they're back home on Tuesday to play the Bruins once again, back-to-back home and home. Then next Thursday, the 8th, they play the New York Islanders, and then the 10th, a Saturday at 2 p.m. against the Boston Bruins. So the Flyers have a weekend, two-game-in-a-row weekend series against Boston and Buffalo. Then April 13th, they play the Capitals. April 15th, they play the Penguins. 17th, they play the Capitals. 18th, they play the Islanders, and then they have a back-to-back 23rd and the 22nd against the New York Rangers, 25th. And then they'll have a 3-game stretch, 1 home game, 2 road games to end off the month of April against the New Jersey Devils. 25th is at home, that's a Sunday. Then the 27th and the 29th, they are in New Jersey. And why not? Let's look at the month of May just to wrap up their schedule. And it's actually a 4-game stretch of 4 games in a row against the Devils. And they start off the month of May against the Devils on a Saturday. Then they have 2 home games in a row, the 3rd and the 4th of May against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Then they have 2 games in a row, the 7th and the 8th at the Capitals. And to finish off the regular season, on May 10th, they play the New Jersey Devils. So, like I said, I don't see this team as a playoff team, but who knows what happens in the month of April. This Flyers team is notorious for when they were mediocre to go on these weird hot streaks and find themselves in the midst of things at the final game of the regular season. So who knows at this point? Who the hell knows? And also, who the hell cares? Because this team is not that good. They just aren't. They just simply are not that good. So, get away from the game. get away from the schedule. Let's talk about some other things real quickly. So, one of the brighter spots from today. Cam York signs his entry-level contract. Good for him. Good for him. It's weird, too, because his contract actually starts this season, so I would assume he's going to go down and play for the Phantoms in Lehigh Valley. I don't want him anywhere near the NHL squad. I don't want them hurting him whatsoever, hurting the way he's played, hurting his confidence. Just let him go down, play with the Phantoms, because they're actually an exciting team to watch. They are. The Phantoms are actually more entertaining than the Flyers. So, good for Cam York, and sadly he wasn't able to play in the college tournament because of the COVID situation with Michigan. But hey, majority of a lot of the college top prospects signed with their teams. Cole Caulfield, he signed with Montreal. A bunch of other players signed with their teams. So hey, it was basically a matter of time before Cam York signed his. So good there on Cam York. And for the other bit of news that happened yesterday, actually, I was going to wait until today to talk about it because I expected it to get to this point. So yesterday, the Flyers put Shane Gostisbehere on waivers, and that set a bunch of Flyers fans in a lot of fumes because they didn't understand what the move meant. They were like, oh, why are we waiving Gostisbehere? Why don't we just do this to Erik Gustafsson? Because Gustafsson is just a worse player. But if you look at the situation with Gostisbehere, if you also go back to Chuck Fletcher's press conference, the way he was talking about players and teams that were not really contacting the Flyers about stuff. So I really feel like the player he was really referring to about teams not wanting to talk about was Shane Gostisbehere, because he just hasn't been the same defenseman for the past few years now. He is what he is at this point. He's basically a third pairing defenseman who can play the top unit of your power play. He can get points, but he's not going to be good in your own defensive zone. That's just what he is at this point. So you put him on waivers, and it wasn't expected that no one was going to be picking him up. And he clears waivers this afternoon. And you think about it, these next 2 days, the Flyers actually have 2 days off in a row before they play the Islanders on Saturday. So I think these 2 days are going to be, something's going to brew up. Because with this waiving of Gostisbehere, because he didn't play in tonight's game, he didn't. Erik Gustafsson did. Shane Gostisbehere was put on the taxi squad. So Ghost clears his waivers. The Flyers save around $1 million to $1.5 million in cap space. And when Ghost gets put on the taxi squad, they save around, I think, $2 to $2.5 million. So right now, the Flyers, they've been doing this the entire season. They've been calling guys up and down from the taxi squad to bank as much cap space as possible for the trade deadline. And with waiving Gostisbehere, this clears up another roster spot to possibly bring up some guys from the AHL. And this also opened up a lot of room to bring in a guy like Cam York to sign his entry-level contract. So I think in these next 2 days, we are going to see something happen, because I expect a trade to happen. The Flyers just aren't going to do anything. If mostly at this point right now, I expect them to be more sellers than buyers at this point, but you never know what's going to happen. I do think with the waiving of Gostisbehere, this is most likely going to be the last time he steps foot in a Philadelphia Flyers uniform. So honestly, in the next 2 days, I could be wrong at this point too, but these next 2 days, they have off days, so I kind of expect something to happen at that point. Whether it's a trade, whether they call someone up from the Phantoms, or something around that range. I don't think it's going to be a humongous trade, but you never know. It could be a humongous trade, it could be a blockbuster, it could be a really minor hockey deal. You just never know what's going to happen. I know the whole rumors with Nashville and stuff like that with Ekholm and Ryan Ellis, but Nashville, they're getting back into the playoff race. They've been playing a lot good as of late, so I don't expect them to be really sellers at this point anymore. But you never know what could happen. You never know. It's hockey. Hockey is very unpredictable. So there's a lot of things that they can do going into the trade deadline. The trade deadline is very close right now. I think it's really close. I forget the specific date, but I know it's like around 10 days away, or maybe even less than that. So the trade deadline is creeping up on the Flyers and the NHL. So I expect the Flyers to probably make a move sooner rather than later, but you never know. They can make a trade right before the trade deadline. They can make it tomorrow or Friday, or they can do the moves on trade deadline day. We're just going to have to wait and see what happens. So I don't mind the waiving of Gostisbehere. I expect him to be gone at this point. I would assume next year he's not going to be in a Philadelphia Flyers uniform. Who knows when that's going to happen, whether this trade deadline, or you just never know, or if he gets picked up by Seattle in the expansion draft. And like I said, Flyers have to make a lot of moves. They have to make a lot of changes if they want to improve for next year, because you're not doing anything this year if you find a way to get into the playoffs. You're just not going to do anything. You simply are not. And you got to shed salary somehow. You do have to shed salary if you want to make some moves. And that's going to be one of the major issues right now with this team, is shedding salary, because there are a lot of contracts on this team that are not really attractive to some others, just because a lot of guys are a little bit getting around 30, a little above 30, and they're making a lot of money. They still have some term left. Guys like Jake Voracek, guys like James Van Riemsdyk, guys like Shane Gostisbehere, even though he's not in his 30s, he still really doesn't have an attractive contract, because he makes 4.5 and he still has that contract for another 2 years. That's why he wasn't picked up on waivers. And who knows, maybe a guy like Eric Gustafsson could be traded, and you can get maybe like a late round pick for him. But you never know what's going to happen. You never know. But that's going to do it for this video, everyone. What are your thoughts on this Flyers game? What are your thoughts on the Cam York signing his entry-level contract? And what are your thoughts on the Shane Gostisbehere waiving, and what do you think that, I guess, implements for the future for this team going towards the trade deadline? So don't forget to leave your comments down in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to drop a like on this video. Don't forget to check out the Painted Lines, which I am a part of. Their links will be in the description below. Don't forget to check out the Flyered Up Podcast merchandise website. We did a podcast earlier this afternoon, sort of jinked the Flyers. We definitely did, so definitely go check that out. The link for Flyers Nitty Gritty will also be down in the description below. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel as always. And I will see you next time.